An acquaintance of mine, who happened to have been a cop, once told me this little tale he experienced several years ago. Back then, he was a deputy and still new to the patrol scene. Since he was new to it, he got called often to more simple tasks that made the more experienced deputies' jobs easier. One night, the deputy got a request over his radio to sit on a suicide scene. The victim was still inside the home, and they needed the deputy to sit and guard the main entry to the home until the coroner got there to take the body. They didn't want any relatives or anyone else to enter the scene and mess up evidence. Basically, that was a standard procedure. So the deputy got to the home of the suicide victim and confirmed with the cops already on the scene that he was there to wait for the coroner. It was the middle of the night, so the deputy grabbed his flip phone out of his patrol car and settled on the front porch to play some Snake on his phone. All was totally quiet around him after everyone else left. All the deputy could hear were the occasional sounds of distant barking dogs and the faint sounds of the sparse highway traffic. The silence did indeed make him a little nervous, especially considering what lay only a few feet away and invisible to him only because of a wall. So it was only natural that his instincts had his ears on high alert. So, he was startled when he suddenly thought he heard a rustling sound, seemingly coming from inside the house behind him. All he could do was sit there and wait and listen intently. A few minutes went by, though, and he didn't hear anything else, so he just figured he probably heard the house settling or something. Over half an hour went by, and the deputy was starting to get a little drowsy staring at Snake on his small flip phone, so he flipped it shut and sat back for a few minutes to relax. But then suddenly, there was that sound again, which seemed louder that time. A strange rustling sound, like maybe rustling papers, he thought to himself, puzzled. As he sat there and listened hard, he heard it again, and that time he was sure it was coming from inside the house behind him where the victim was. At that point, the deputy admits, he was pretty damn scared. He didn't want to call for backup until he was sure there was someone inside the house, but he also didn't want to go inside the dark, creepy death scene by himself to investigate either. So he stood up and waited once again for any noise, while resting his hand on the gun in his belt. Then, the deputy drew his gun as a loud sound from behind him caused him to spin around and face a large window by the front door, covered by vertical hanging blinds. As he turned around to face the window, an explosion of movement disturbed the vertical blinds. The deputy did admit to me in the telling of this story that he did in fact definitely jump and scream, as most anyone would. The deputy's vision quickly cleared, and he stared at the face on the other side of the window, definitely not expecting to see that particular face staring back at him. The deputy screamed and went wide-eyed. The face staring back at him made a startled sound with wide-eyed as well. Then, for a quiet moment, man and feline eyed each other before both turning away, feeling stupid. I guess the suicide victim had a pet cat, which ended up most likely going to a relative of the victim's. The deputy admitted to me, after telling me this story, that he felt that was one of the most scariest instances he'd ever had in his whole career.